Hey, Mark Lewis here from Mark's Money Secrets. You know, everybody on the internet's talking about trust, the value of trust and how great they are and how John D. Rockefeller did them, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that trusts aren't valuable, and when deployed correctly, absolutely. And we do them all the time in deploying them in our corporate structures. But they're not the cure-all that we think they are. And in fact, corporate structures, corporate law, incorporation is far more powerful in nearly every scenario than any kind of trust is, because corporate law is the law of the land, the law of contracts. In fact, it's the underpinning, the foundation that allows trust law to exist and regulations in the states in the first place. And don't we want to be a part of the big law that runs the whole land and quite frankly, the law that governs the companies that rule the planet as it is? Governments don't rule the planet, corporations do, and we want to be party to that. And as small to medium-sized business owners, we certainly can do that. How do we do that? To get the benefit of both worlds, the corporate side and, say, irrevocable non-grantor trust, which is one of the most powerful trusts we have available to us, we have to be well disposed to use bylaws and operating agreements and the minutes of our company very, very well, and be able to know what kind of language to create so that we can eat our cake and have it, whichever way that goes. Let's roll. Probably the most powerful part of having a multi-member company is the thing that people hate the most, and that's the bylaws, creating an operating agreement, dealing with minutes and annual meetings and all that other kind of stuff. But in reality, that's the part that creates such power for your company and enacts and invokes the power of corporate law, where you can kind of do whatever you want, as long as it's legal, and as long as it's making money and isn't just trying to keep from paying taxes. As long as there's a legitimate business reason for doing something, you can do it in your bylaws. And what most people don't realize is that the power of a multi-member company extends into legacy preservation so powerfully when you write your bylaws the right way. Since owning shares or having units in a company is always a part of holding, and that's always a business situation, something to do with business, the business itself, we need to know what's going to happen with those shares. We also need to know if there are specific things that need to happen, like, let's say, payments that need to go to another company every month, or another individual, or a contract, or what happens when somebody resigns. All those things need to be described very specifically in the bylaws. Some people look to do the same kinds of things in an irrevocable trust, non-grantor, and that's absolutely possible. But there are super gross provisos that come with doing that, like a non-grantor irrevocable trust can never be changed unless all of the beneficiaries agree, and that can be a big, big problem. Agree via a notary, in fact. Otherwise, it's no longer a non-grantor trust, and all kinds of other rules and regulations kind of knock it down from being the great asset protection juggernaut that an irrevocable trust usually is. And other things like the trustee has limited powers. The grantor has to walk away. You're certainly not going to do your business in an irrevocable non-grantor trust for any benefit to you, because you can't take any benefit. You can't control it. You can't materially participate. You got to walk away. This is not what we want. We want the flexibility of being able to enact massive profits and massive business and do all of that. We want that in an LLC or some kind of multi-member structure. That's going to require us, though, to write very specific bylaws to get the same kind of treatment. Why? Well, imagine this. Imagine that you set up a company and you've got a special needs child that you want to have $6,000 a month sent to for the rest of her life. Fine. Company can do that. But what happens if you resign? Someone's going to replace you as a manager or a director in that company, and they could say, it's too expensive. We don't want to do this. We're going to cut that off. And you're gone, and there's nothing you can do about it. But if we put into the bylaws certain unchangeable protocols that founding members can enact, then we can do such a thing as saying these must never be changed no matter what happens. And if you try to change it, you're out. Now, in a trust, we can't kick beneficiaries out, and it's too bad, too, because the biggest enemy of every trust is the beneficiaries, who end up squabbling invariably, and you end up in court and all kinds of nonsense. Now everybody in the world knows what's going on with your trust. But in a company, not so. Squabblers and people that want to pull down what you set up in those particular, we call them the director prerogative for permanent protocols. If you try to mess with that and breach that, you're out. You don't get payments, you don't get votes, you don't get control, you don't get anything. Now, everybody makes a mistake, and you can see there in that second position there where it says, if there's a breach, this is how it goes. And then there's an opportunity to cure. And you've got 30 days. If you made a mistake, okay, fine. Then you'll be able to have that returned to you if you can make amends and cure everything, and then you're back. But during that 30 days, it's like you're dead to the company. You do not exist. And this allows us to be able to set things up as founding members, managers and directors, so that nothing that we want to stay the same will ever change. And what might one of those things be? Oh, I don't know. You can never be voted out. That's not a bad thing. Here's what happens to my control and my shares should I resign from the planet. Those kinds of things. And again, a situation where you want ongoing payments. Anything you want, as long as it's not going to damage the company. And that brings us to the provisos, which are, this doesn't work if this protocol that you've set up at some point could cause a dissolution event for the company. In other words, it could cause a bankruptcy. It also gets pulled down if there's a situation where, let's say, unfortunately, that special needs child died. Now there's no more reason to be sending $6,000 to that child's estate. That's closed down. And then the last one is if everyone agrees. Everyone, members and managers, 100% unanimous vote agrees to pull this down, then it comes down. And that's why in such a case, you would have that special needs child as a member, not voting if you wanted, so that if that ever happened, they could go, I don't think that's a good idea, and then it all stays exactly where it is. So under those three provisos, then whatever you set up stays the way it is in the company, never to be changed, kind of on pain of company death, yours. So you can see you really don't need an attorney to go crazy and create legalese and contracts and your bylaws and minutes and operating agreements to make this happen. It can be very straightforward, very easy to use, and absolutely binding on anyone who wants to join your corporate structure, any set of your companies or anything of that kind. And that way the founding members or the founding managers, shareholders, director, whatever kind of company you have there, what they say must stay in place unless it's going to damage the company, or the people or companies that are involved in that particular must never be changed thing are no longer either on the planet or in the company. So with this, hopefully it's been valuable to you to kind of open your mind up to what's possible in corporate structure and even in the kind of the bones of your company, which is the operating agreement and the minutes. If so, please subscribe here, and we go over this intensely and in detail in our mastermind program, where we take business owners through a 10-week intensive of helping them set up their own corporate structure. We go through taxes, contracts, compliance, bylaws, minutes, operating agreements, structures, all of it. And I really love doing that with groups of folks because I love working with people in real time. And now, if you're a DIY kind of person, we've got tons of courses for that in our store. The link is here in the description. And if we don't see you in one of those opportunities, definitely join us on Instagram, where we go live just about every day. And if we don't see you there, be wealthy.